Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you and your family in the best of health. This lecture is for grade 7, boys and girls both wings, subject science, chapter number 1, lecture number 3, and here is Mrs. Saira Jamal. Dear students, in the previous lecture we discussed about the parts of respiratory system. We discussed nose and throat. Today we are going to discuss trachea, which is also called windpipe. Air passes from the larynx into the trachea or windpipe. Larynx, we discussed in the previous lecture that larynx is composed of vocal cords, and these vocal cords help in the production of sound. Then the larynx is also composed of epiglottis, and epiglottis closed out when we eat or drink food. So the air from the larynx enter into the trachea or windpipe or trachea is made up of C-shaped rings of cartilage. Cartilages are connective tissues like bones, but they are much softer than bones. Bones are hard and cartilages are softer. You can call it softer connective tissues. These rings keep our windpipe open. Mucus and tiny hair in the trachea also filter the air. As the hairs and mucus which are present in nose, which we discussed in the previous lecture, they filter the air. So same, the trachea also filter the air. This is larynx. Larynx, I told you, is composed of these vocal cords, the two vocal cords, and then the top one is epiglottis. These are the vocal cords, and this is the epiglottis. This is the larynx. Then after larynx, the air enter into trachea. You can see the trachea contains C-shaped cartilages. The red lines show the C-shaped cartilages which keep this windpipe open or keep it open. Then this trachea or windpipe, it divides into two branches. Those branches are called bronchi, and then bronchi are further divided into small branches. Those small branches are called bronchiole. At the end of each bronchiole, tiny air sacs called alveoli are present, and these alveoli are surrounded by blood capillaries. After trachea, which divides into two branches, the air enters into lungs. And inside the lungs, these bronchi divide into small branches, which are called bronchioles. And inside the lungs, those bronchioles, at the tip of each bronchiole, tiny air sacs are present, which are called alveoli. And these alveoli are surrounded by blood capillaries. Now bronchi and lungs. The bronchi, I told you, they enter into the lungs. So the trachea divides into two branches called bronchi. If it is one, then singular bronchus, but for two we will use plural bronchi. Bronchi carry air into the lungs. Our lungs are the most important organs of the respiratory system. In each lung, the bronchus divides into smaller tubes called bronchioles, and at the end of each bronchiole, tiny air sacs called alveoli are present. And these alveoli, I told you, they are surrounded by blood capillaries. What happened when we breathe air in? The air enters into the lungs and reaches the alveoli. In lungs, actually in lungs, the main parts where the exchange of gases takes place, they are the alveoli. In alveoli, actually exchange of gases takes place, like exchange of oxygen with carbon dioxide. So what happened? Oxygen of the air passes through the walls of the alveoli. As if you remember in my previous lecture in digestive system, I told you that the digested food is absorbed in the walls of small intestine, which have finger-like projections called villi. Same like that digestive system absorption, here oxygen of the air, it passes through the walls of alveoli and then in the walls of alveoli, they are absorbed into the blood capillaries. As alveoli, as the villi in small intestine, also I told you they are, the capillaries were present, the capillaries were present in the villi or surrounded by villi, so the blood absorbed in the wall of the villi, and then they absorb in the blood capillaries. Same like that, the oxygen of air passes through the walls of alveoli, they absorb into the blood capillaries, and then those red blood cells which have now oxygen, they carry this oxygen to every cell of body. And when the oxygen, this is called oxygenated blood. The blood which is rich in oxygen is called oxygenated blood. This oxygenated blood, when it reaches to cells, what happens in cells? In cells, our body use this oxygen, and blood also contain what? Blood also contain food. This oxygen and food, which is in its simpler form, like suppose glucose, they react together and then they produce final products. What are those final products? Those final products are energy. That means like products are carbon dioxide, water vapors, and energy is released. This energy which is released in cell, they are utilized by the cells, it means our body, for different function. What happened to the carbon dioxide? Energy is utilized by our body. Water again is utilized by the body. But what about the carbon dioxide? The carbon dioxide, it then goes back to the lungs, and then from the lungs it is exhaled out through mouth and nose. Carbon dioxide leaves our body when we breathe out. This is actually the total procedure of the respiratory system, or in other words, we can say exchange of gases which takes place in the respiratory system. Dear students, as I told you that the bronchi are divided into small branches called bronchiole. These bronchiole are surrounded by these bronchioles. At the tip of these bronchioles, tiny air sacs. You can see these are tiny air sacs, the balls which you can see in this image. In this image, you can consider it like these are the air sacs, and these air sacs are surrounded by blood capillaries. These air sacs are surrounded by blood capillaries, and inside you can see these gases or gas molecules or oxygen molecules which enter in the air sacs. Now there is a summary, and I am sure this summary will help you in understanding this respiratory system. You can see air enter in our body through nose and mouth. Air from outside enters in our body through nose and mouth. Then it travels down to pharynx and larynx. Then before entering into the trachea, there are a filter, which is called primary filtration done. Primary filtration done, I told you, they are filtered by nose as well as they are filtered by the pharynx and larynx, and then they enters into the trachea. In trachea, again, we discussed that they are filtered. So further filtration takes place in trachea. From the trachea, the air enters into left and right bronchi. Then from the bronchi, because the trachea divides into two branches, and those branches are called bronchi, so left and right bronchi. From the bronchi, the air then passes to the small tubes which are called bronchioles. From the bronchiole, they are finally enter into the alveoli. And in alveoli, I told you, the oxygen is absorbed. Oxygen is absorbed into the blood capillaries. Absorption of oxygen from air. Only oxygen is absorbed from the air, and then it diffused into the blood capillaries. Diffusion, you know that the movement of molecules from higher concentration into the lower concentration. In blood cells, the concentration of oxygen is low, and carbon dioxide is high. So carbon dioxide will remove out and oxygen will be absorbed by the blood capillaries. Here I have another image. You can see this is alveoli. The air when enters into the alveoli. In alveoli, I told you oxygen is absorbed by the blood. These are, you can see, blue color veins. So the air when is absorbed or when it is diffused into the blood, the color of the blood changes. It first go to the heart. This blood goes to the heart, and then in heart you can see the color of this blood changes from blue to red because this is now oxygenated blood. So this oxygenated blood is pumped because actually the function of heart is that it, after pumping, send the blood to all parts of the body. So this blood then enters into like this blood which contain blood cells. You can see the blood cell have oxygen now which it absorbs from the alveoli, and it will remove or release the carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide which is released, it goes to the heart, and then heart send it back to the lungs, and then that carbon dioxide is evolved out or exhaled out by our body. Here again, from where we get oxygen and food. Oxygen and food we get from the plant because the plants after photosynthesis they give oxygen. That oxygen we inhale, and after inhalation this oxygen is diffused into the blood. This blood have food which is in the form of sugar. This oxygen react with that sugar. Sugar actually over here means the glucose. So this oxygen react with the glucose and then convert it into the final product which is energy, water and carbon dioxide. Energy and water is utilized by the body, but carbon dioxide in the blood goes back into the heart, and then heart send it to the lungs, and from the lungs this carbon dioxide is exhaled out by our body. This exhaled carbon dioxide is utilized by plants for the process of photosynthesis. How do we breathe? Our lungs have no muscles. The lungs are made up of special type of muscle which are called smooth muscles, but the normal muscles which our body is made up of, they are different from them. So we say that our lungs have no muscles. Types of muscles work during the breathing process: the intercostal muscles of ribs and the dome-shaped diaphragm. Dome shape means like a circular mountain. They are like a circular mountain shaped diaphragm. The process of breathing is completed in two steps. First step is when the intercostal muscles pull our ribs outward, means when our ribs move down, it means pulling the diaphragm down. What happened? The diaphragm contract. Definitely when it moves down, it will contract, and when it contracts the air enters into the lung because the lungs have then space for the incoming air. So the air will then enter in our lungs. It is called inhaling. But when the diaphragm move up, it is relaxed, it goes to its original position. Back to original position is relaxation. So when it relaxed, it went back to its original position. What happened? The air will move outside from the lung, and this process is called exhalation. These are, students, you can see the intercostal muscles which I told you. The intercostal muscles, in the previous slide we discussed that when the intercostal muscle pull our ribs outward. So these are the intercostal muscles which help in the pulling and then relaxation of the diaphragm. They although they mention the types of intercostal muscles, but at this level, no need to learn about those. Just learn that intercostal muscles are present and at the inner side of the rib cages. and these intercostal muscle actually they pull the diaphragm. In this image, you can see the diaphragm, which is a dome shape. I told you, circular mountain. It is like a circular mountain, dome-shaped diaphragm. This diaphragm actually move down, and then it can move up. This is the relaxed position. And when it is pulled by the intercostal muscle down, it means that it contracts. So contraction will make more space for the lungs to can accommodate more air in it, so air enter in the lungs. But when the diaphragm relax, it comes back to its original position. What happened then? The air is pulled. The air is pushed out, and then it moves out from our mouth or exhale out. In this image again, you can see this is the diaphragm. So when the diaphragm, you can see it moves down, and this movement is due to these intercostal muscles. The intercostal muscles, when they pull our ribs outward or downward, what happened? The air will move inside the lungs. But when the diaphragm go back to its original position, it relaxes. So what happened? Then this air moves out of the lungs. When the air moves out of the lung, this is called the exhalation. So there are two processes which takes place. One is inhalation, and the second is the exhalation. I have a video, and I'm sure maybe this video will help you in understanding this topic. This is about the respiratory system, how the air enters into our body, and then how it works, and then the trachea, from trachea, which divides into two branches, which are called bronchi, and then from bronchi, it enters into the bronchioles, which are the small branches, and then from bronchiole, they enter into the sacs. Those tiny air sacs are called
respiratory system. To understand the process of breathing, in humans, the main organs responsible for respiration are present in the thoracic cavity. In the thorax region, the rib cage and a dome-shaped fibrous tissue, known as the diaphragm, are observed. Present within the rib cage are the pleural membranes, which enclose the lungs. The right lung is divided into three lobes: the right superior, right middle, and the right inferior lobe. The left lung is smaller and has only two lobes, the left superior and the left inferior lobe. Both the lungs are associated externally with small tubular bronchi, which unite and extend into the trachea. The trachea has incomplete C-shaped rings of cartilage, which prevent the tracheal wall from collapsing. The trachea leads into the pharynx, which is connected to the nostrils. As we breathe in air, the oxygen molecules enter the nostrils and travel downwards through the pharynx and trachea to finally reach the bronchi. From each bronchus, oxygen travels into the lungs. Within the lungs, the bronchus divides repeatedly to form bronchioles. Oxygen travels through these bronchioles and reaches the alveoli, each of which is surrounded by a network of capillaries. A section of one alveolus shows the presence of numerous alveolar chambers with pores. Blood, containing RBCs, is seen flowing through the capillaries. The oxygen molecules from the alveolus diffuse into the capillary and then get absorbed by the bluish-purple RBCs. This causes oxygenation of the RBCs, and a transition in their color from bluish-purple to red is observed. The blood moving into the alveolus contains RBCs and carbon dioxide molecules. These molecules are released into the alveolus. The carbon dioxide collects in the alveolar chamber. And then from the alveolus, it travels through the bronchioles into the bronchus, which finally reaches the trachea, and it's breathed out through the nostrils. So the process of breathing in air rich in oxygen is called inhalation. After the contraction of the muscular diaphragm,
So I'm sure students, you understand this topic, which was about the respiratory system, how it takes place, how this exchange of gases takes place. I'm sure at least you understand. Coming towards the next topic, which is about the comparing breathing and burning. Breathing and burning, they are two processes. Breathing, although you learned in the previous topic, but in the previous lecture, breathing and burning processes, they are also comparable. First thing, during both processes, energy is released. Energy is released from a fuel. In case of the burning, the fuel may be coal, petrol, or gas. But in case of the breathing, the food, when react with oxygen, it releases carbon dioxide, water, as carbon dioxide and water are formed in both cases. In burning also, carbon dioxide, water vapors, and energy is released. And in breathing also the same thing happen. Oxygen, the carbon dioxide is released, and along with water vapors, and energy is released as well. But the main difference between the two is only their rate. Burning is a steady process or a fast process, while the breathing is a slow process. It takes a long route, and then the energy is released by the cells. Coming toward the working model of a lung, you can see, you can make it at home that we need two balloons, one small, one large. We need tape, a pair of scissors, drinking straw, modeling clay or wax, small clear plastic bottle with bottom cut off. Take a plastic bottle, cut the bottom of that plastic bottle, and what you have to do, procedure is pull the opening of a small balloon over one end of a drinking straw. Take a drinking straw and then fit this small balloon at one end of this drinking straw. Use tape to attach the balloon to the straw. If it is not tight, then use tape or thread and tie it tightly so it will completely fix to the straw. Cut the neck of a large balloon. Take a large balloon and cut its neck. Only the lower part of the balloon, you have to attach it with the lower part of the, or the cut part of this plastic bottle. Ask your friend to hold a plastic bottle whose bottom has been cut off. Stretch the balloon over the cut end of the bottle. Again, use tape to make it tight, or tie it with a thread. Push the end of the straw with the small balloon. The straw and small balloon pushed it in the head of this bottle, and then close this cap or the head of this bottle by using clay, modeling clay or wax, so that the air will not move out through these openings. Air will enter or leave only through this straw. This is the only opening. Then the neck or the head of this bottle is completely covered by the modeling clay or by the wax. Then use modeling clay to seal the mouth of bottle and hold the straw in place. Pull down the large balloon. When you pull this large balloon down, what will happen? It is like a diaphragm. When the diaphragm moves down, air will enter into the lungs, and then you will see the lungs will blow up. The lungs will blow. And when you leave the balloon to come at its original position, or when it gets relaxed, what will happen? The air will move out of this straw, and then the balloon again will come in its original shape. So I have a video, dear students, and I'm sure this will help you in understanding this activity.
Ever felt out of breath? Ever wanted to go that extra mile? Well, now you can with a little help from us. Hi, my name's Steve and I'm from the Questacon Science Squad, and today I'm going to show you how to make a model of a lung. What you'll need is a pair of scissors, 2 balloons about 30 centimetres in diameter, a straw, a rubber band, a piece of plasticine about 2 centimetres across, a pencil, and a plastic bottle about 600 millilitres large. First, what you'll need to do is get your balloon and cut off the neck, like that. This is now going to act as our diaphragm. Next, you want to get the plastic bottle and cut the base off, like I've done here. Now get your diaphragm and stretch it very, very tightly over the end of your bottle. Now, this can be a little bit fiddly, so I've prepared one earlier. Now get your other balloon and put the straw in through the neck and tie it off tightly using your rubber band. The balloon is going to act as our lung, and the straw is going to act as our windpipe. Great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the pencil and put it through the centre of our ball of plasticine. Then we get our straw and we put it through the hole we've just made and pinch it off at the ends so that no air can escape. Now you want to get the balloon, squeeze out all the air and feed it into the top of your bottle. Push it all the way down, and then once you've done that, squeeze off the sides of the plasticine so that once again no air can come through. Now we're going to see if our lung can breathe. So watch the inside balloon as I gently pull on the bottom balloon, and we breathe in and out, in and out. And then if we're running really fast, we breathe in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and in and out. To find out how this works, or to find out how you breathe using your diaphragm, visit the Questacon Science Squad website. See you next time.
I am sure students you understand this activity. The next topic is about the common diseases of the respiratory system. There are many diseases which are related with the respiratory system, and one of that disease is pneumonia. What is pneumonia? Pneumonia is an infectious disease that affects the lungs, and the lungs are made of small cells or small sacs called alveoli. We discussed it in our previous lecture that the lungs are surrounded by alveoli. But one more problem is common cold. There are two problems of the respiratory system, or two diseases of the respiratory system. One is common cold and another one is pneumonia. There are some other like influenza. Influenza means flu. Tuberculosis means TB and lung cancer, but here we will discuss the first one, common cold. The common cold is a common disorder of the respiratory system. The virus of common cold can spread from person to person. How can it spread? Because as it is a viral disease, and nowadays you have heard about the coronavirus, and you have heard that it again spread by sneezing, by coughing, and by touching things of a common cold patient. So same is that this common cold is a disease which is spread by the coughing, sneezing, or touching things of a common cold person. What are the symptoms of common cold? Sore throat, coughing, runny nose, congestion means blockage of the nasal cavities, sneezing, headache, etc. are the common symptoms, and we may have fever during the common cold also. Fever, high temperature may also be like you will suffer from that as well. Then there is no proper medicine for the common cold, corona, no medicine yet. However, you may observe the following measure: get lots of rest, drink plenty of liquid, especially the hot, and if symptoms persist, then consult your doctor. This is assignment. Why does our voice become rough when we get infection in throat or catch cold? Then the next problem is pneumonia. Pneumonia is an infection that affects the lungs. The lungs are made up of small sacs called alveoli. I told you in my previous slide, which are filled with air. But when a person have pneumonia, what happened? The alveoli are filled with pus, which makes breathing painful. And pneumonia is the main cause of death in children worldwide. Common symptoms of pneumonia are cough, fever, nasal congestion, rapid breathing, and then during that breathing, high-pitched sound is produced by our chest, and that is called wheezing sound. Chest pain, loss of appetite. Loss of appetite means that the patient will not feel hunger, or he or she will not want to eat anything. Visit your doctor as soon as possible to treat pneumonia. Your doctor may prescribe antibiotic medicine. Vaccine can also be used to prevent handkerchief when you cough or sneeze. As today the doctors said that while sneezing or coughing, I'll always use a tissue or a handkerchief so that you may, like these viruses or these germs will not come in contact to the other persons. Then after pneumonia, you can see this image here. We have two lungs. This lung is for healthy person, and this lung is of the person who have pneumonia. So you can see the healthy person lung, no inflammation here, but in this case you can say inflammation or inflammatory lung, which have a swollen, like you can see swollen here. This part is swollen part. Then you can see normal bronchiole is like this in this form, but the blockage of bronchiole due to the pus which is filled inside the bronchiole. You can see it in the this pneumonia patient alveoli, bronchiole. Then you can see the alveoli of the healthy person, which have only air inside it, and the alveoli of the patient, it have pus. This yellow color show the pus which is filled inside the alveoli. How can we keep our lungs healthy? There are some tips. First one is quit smoking. Quit smoking means stop smoking. Second-hand smoke. Second-hand smoke means that get away from those people who are smokers. And when they are smoking, then try to get away from those people, because that smoke is also dangerous for our body. Air pollution means try to get away from the areas, from the polluted areas, because the gases, they may harm you, and they have these pollutants which may cause these problems. Wash your hands frequently with soap or with sanitizers. Keep the air inside your home clean. How can we keep the air inside our home clean? By proper ventilation and by growing plants. By growing plants, plants are very good because you know that they make the air clean. Use caution during cold and flu season. Caution, as we know, I told you before, that drink hot drinks and avoid cold drinks, avoid ice creams, and wash your hands properly and use handkerchief or tissue while sneezing or coughing. So all these are the cautions for to get rid from these diseases. Get vaccinated. There are vaccine for each type of problems, so try to have those vaccines. Get a physical checkup after every 3 months. Must go to the doctor and do your checkup. Quit smoking. Avoid secondhand smoke, like this person is smoker, so try to get away from these type of person. Then we do deep breathing exercise daily. Then play a wind instrument like flute, oboe, saxophone, mouth organ like clarinet. These are the musical instruments, so try to play these instruments when you have time and if you have these instruments. Improve indoor air by use at least 2 house plants per 100 square. Grow more plants. Grow plants especially in your homes. Then use cycling. Do cycling, which is a good exercise, and get away from the polluted areas. Number 9, eat fruits and vegetables. They contain vitamins. Vitamins keep our lungs healthy. Exercises like running, walking, swimming, jumping, cycling, etc. are good for our lungs. Leafy green vegetables contain such chemicals that are good for our lungs. So take green vegetables. You can see green apple, oranges, pomegranate, the broccoli and cherries. These are good for lungs. There are some other vegetables you can see: broccoli, like cauliflowers, onions, ginger, olives, then the peppers, or like garlic, spinach. All these are the vegetables which are good for lungs. In fruits, you can see kiwi, apples, grapes, oranges, strawberries. All these are good for the lungs, so they will keep your lungs strong. Assignment for today is there are two questions. First one is, why are we advised to breathe deeply after running a race? And second question is, why does our voice become rough when we get infection in throat or catch cold? Hope you understand this lecture. Thank you.